You're just listening to the wrong voice. You're tuned into the one yelling at you over the loudspeaker that you're f***ing stupid and your performance blows. And you're ignoring the quiet one inside telling you where the alpha is. Now that's the voice that got you here. And it's still there if you're willing to listen. What's that voice telling you?
You guys miss Wendy? Yeah, me too. You miss Billions? Yeah, me too. Well, the new season is coming out in just a few weeks, so let's get warmed up. Though you probably already feel warm on the inside after seeing Wendy, and that's normal. So today we're gonna talk about where Wendy, or the actress Maggie Siff, where she got her inspiration from and who her character is based off of. And you're gonna see why it's so realistic to include her character in this show, because performance psychologists like her are absolutely essential to these billionaire traders like Axe and the rest of his crew. But before we get into it, if you're looking to improve your own psychology when you're investing in the market, then make sure you check out this psychology FOMO guide. It's free. There's a link down below in the description and comments. It's no Wendy, but you know, it's going to help you get on the right track today. That way you don't screw yourself in the market, because as you'll see in this video, it's your psychology that can hurt you the most. So make sure you get that today. It's free. Link down below in the description and comments. So in the game of high performance coaching, like what Wendy does, and I'm not just talking about for investors, but also for athletes and people in business and everyone, there's one guy who's known as the giant in the industry, and that man is Tony Robbins. That's him on the left right here, towering over Tim Ferriss. And Tony Robbins is actually a huge guy. I mean, in this picture, Tim looks like his illegitimate son who finally got reunited with Tony after 30 years, but it's a cute pic. Tim can almost reach his shoulders. See his little fingers right there? And then of course, Tony has one of the most famous books, Awaken the Giant Within. There's a reason why giant is in the title, and you probably already know Tony Robbins. He's pretty famous. Tons of celebrities have praised him for helping them reach success, and I'm talking about guys like Oprah and Usher, and of course the smoothest man alive, Bill Clinton. So Tony is really the top. And it's funny because he started out doing infomercials selling people his motivational audio tapes, and they just caught fire. Not the tapes themselves, but the message. Everyone loved it. Tim Ferriss himself has that story about him taking his mom's beat up van and driving it to Silicon Valley, and along the way just listening to those Tony Robbins tapes over and over again. And then Tim went on to become the famous author and venture capitalist that all males in Silicon Valley between the ages of 20 and 40 orgasm over. Myself included, but obviously, I'm not in Silicon Valley. My place is a lot bigger, and I don't live in constant fear of homeless people flinging their feces at me. But hey, people do say they love the lifestyle in San Francisco, so I don't know. Now, one of Tony Robbins' most famous clients is the billionaire investor Paul Tudor Jones. And here they are cheesing because they've just made so much money together. Always remember, guys, the best friends and the best relationships are built with money. These smiles prove it. And Paul Tudor Jones is just a legend. He's a market wizard. He's been crushing the markets for years. Just check out this clip of Tony explaining how he helped Paul Tudor Jones as a client.
Businesses have. I get stopped in the street every day. I got barbers talking to me going, what do I do? And billionaires, literally. One of my clients I've been coaching for 17 years. He's one of the top 10 financial traders in the world, in the history of the world. This is a guy who in 1987, when the stock market crashed by the largest percentage at that point ever, and everybody's freaking out, he made $500 million that day when everybody else is freaking. Then he lost money for the next 4 years because he went beyond what he'd expected, and it messed up his head, and he didn't perform and lost money. So he's been my client for 17 years. He pays me $1 million a year, and I'll tell you that to impress you, but it impresses me. No, but he pays me $1 million a year plus a piece of the upside. He's obviously not looking for motivation. What he looks for is strategy. He emails me every day, 5 days a week. I've worked with all the people around him, George Soros, all the people. I got a chance to study what they did, what he did, to find his patterns. And his patterns are always changing. He has to respond to a change in the marketplace. In order for him to succeed, though, he can even know what to do. But why do most people fail in business? Because they don't execute it, and the reason they don't execute it is state. If fear takes you over, all your decisions change. True or false? If greed takes you over, does that happen also, yes or no? Yeah, you start thinking it's going to be great forever, I can do no wrong, and you start doing everything, taking huge risks you haven't really thought through. You got challenges there too. So my job with him is to really keep his psychology straight as well as make sure his strategies and tactics are adjusting to the environment in an ideal way.
I'm always afraid my voice will eventually sound like Tony's from talking too much. I've been learning about voice control and all this stuff to avoid it. But then again, some people do think the sound of a dying horse is sexy, and it's working for Tony, so, maybe I'll just accept it. So in that clip, there's a few things that he talks about in how he works with Paul Tudor Jones, or PTJ. So the first thing he says is that PTJ isn't paying him $1 million a year just for motivational talks. He's looking for strategy. I don't really even buy that. I know Tony is telling all those people that's what he does, but in fact, everybody wants motivation, and they will pay a lot of money for it and for someone to pump them up. Even in this clip of Wendy, check out what she does.
What'd you take down last year?
7.2 million.
7.2 million. 7.2 million. Feel that.
7.2 million.
Bring it close.
7.2 million.
So what's it saying?
And I'm awesome.
There you go. And what does it have to say back to that loud, critical voice?
It's saying, F you.
Good.
Is it corny? Yeah, sort of. But that's why all her sessions are closed door sessions, and there's patient-doctor confidentiality. So a lot of the game does come down to motivation, because even the top performers need to be reminded that they can do it. If you can see it's possible, then you could actually achieve it. For example, in sports with records, once a record is broken, like it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and no one thinks it can be done. But once it's broken, then you see a bunch of people break it after that. Like the 4-minute mile. It took forever to break it the first time, but eventually even some high schoolers were able to do it. Once you know something is possible, then you're able to do it a lot easier. That's just the way our brains work. This guy right here, his name is Bruce Covener. He's another billionaire investor. He's featured in those Market Wizard books. He's like an equal to Paul Tudor Jones. Well, Bruce here was actually a taxi driver at one point. And the story goes that his mentor, Michael Marcus, this guy right here, who again is another billionaire trader, he had to show Bruce a real check of $1 million that he made. And the point of showing Bruce that check was to tell him, hey, you can do it too. You can make $1 million. And this is back in like the 80s. So once he showed Bruce that, then he believed he could do it. And then he became a billionaire. And what's funny is, this guy, Michael Marcus, you know who his son is? His son is Aubrey Marcus, who started On It with Joe Rogan. Well, I don't think Joe Rogan started it, but he was basically the spokesperson. You've probably heard of Alpha Brain on his podcast. That is Michael Marcus's son, Aubrey Marcus, who is best buddies with Tim Ferriss. So, it's great bringing it all full circle with all these rich dudes who are friends with each other. Connections are a beautiful thing. Anyway, I think the motivation is key, because it's like the old saying goes, seeing is believing. But yeah, if you're charging someone $1 million a year, you're not going to say, hey, what I'm going to do is pump you up. I'm going to be your fluffer. No. It's got to be more than that. But what Tony also says in that clip is that PTJ knows what he's supposed to do. Like, he knows the right answer and how to make money, but he's not always able to execute on that because of his psychology. And it makes sense, because Paul Tudor Jones is the genius level trader. Tony Robbins isn't about to come in and tell him what to do, but he can help him work through the mental barriers that he might be facing. And as Tony said, in PTJ's case, it's kind of a weird, funny problem that a lot of us can't relate to. So what happened to PTJ is that he did so well and exceeded his expectations by so much that it screwed him up. He just couldn't perform the same way after that. And I think a lot of that comes from fear of the expectations of past success. So the first time you get successful, you're coming from nothing. No one's expecting anything, so when you do something great, it's awesome. But if you've got to have success after that, if you've got to hit another big win, well, at that point, you do have something to lose, and you do have to live up to a certain reputation. So in a way, you have a lot less freedom than when you were a nobody. That's why DJ Khaled had the most relatable album of all time, Suffering from Success. Look at how pained his face is with all that jewelry. Probably has neck problems with all those chains. I remember laughing when this album came out, like, oh, DJ Khaled, I feel so bad for you and all your hits. But no, it's a real problem. I actually haven't heard a DJ Khaled hit in a long time. Maybe the next album should be Suffering from Irrelevance. Just kidding. I hope he comes back. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. He would definitely be a great person to have in your corner, boosting up your confidence, giving you his keys to success. I think that's why all these rappers like him. Anyways, I think this happens to a lot of high-performing people. The success ruins them. Like child actors and performers and singers and stuff, what do they usually turn into? Not something good. Not everyone is like Michael Jackson as a child and then Michael Jackson as an adult. But there's usually some other problems there, but one of them is the success. success. Going back to hedge fund managers, this happens to them, just like Paul Tudor Jones. They'll have one huge success, like a lot of the managers in 2008, if they played it right. But then the rest of their lives, they're just trying to live up to what they did in 2008. Like, I saw so many of them try to make this big China call that China was gonna collapse. And yeah, I still think, just like them, that it's gonna happen, but like, it's been years. And whatever play they try to make, it expired. And then I'm sure they're constantly wondering, do I still have it? I only did it once. Maybe it was a fluke. Am I the real deal? Am I fake? Imposter syndrome invades everybody, even successful people. I'll give you another example. Jamie Foxx, the most multi-talented performer that we have. I'm pretty sure the guy went to school on a piano scholarship. Super amazing at music. But he's also very funny. So his comedy career took off before his music career. And he was trying to break into music, but no one would let him, even though he is a musician. So you can imagine what he's thinking. I had all this success and now I can't even do this music thing, you know, this is terrible. Am I even good? And then what ended up happening, he had a studio in his house and he was always throwing parties. So one day some young kid named Kanye West showed up and Kanye put Jamie Foxx on the Slow Jam song. Fantastic song. And then Jamie Foxx's music career blew up. So that imposter syndrome, that fear, that success, it actually hurts everybody, even these guys who are super, super talented. Tony also talks about the other side of that, which is the greed, when all of a sudden you think you can do no wrong. Especially this happens to investors and traders. They make a few good trades and then start betting too much, thinking they have the golden touch, and then they blow up. Or activist investors who buy a company, and because they invest in companies, they think they could jump in and run it better than the people who have been running it for 40 years. Sometimes maybe that's true. Most of the time, no. Or if you've ever had a consultant come in fresh out of college and try to tell you how to run your business based off their textbook, it's like, come on, get out of here. Or even my little brother, he's an investment banker. He said he can take me to 100,000 subs in no time. Just listen to his advice. God. I'm like, all right, man, why don't you go back to getting bent over by your clients, director, and whoever else abuses you at that much sought after banking job of yours? Investment bankers are crazy. I don't know why they put themselves through it. And the money's good. But he was correct that I should be posting new videos daily. So I'll do my best for you guys. Subscribe. So like I was saying, traders get blown out from over leveraging and thinking they're too smart. But even people moving into trading, like doctors, engineers, generally smart people who did really well in a different, vocation, they come in thinking they're gonna blow the markets out of the water. Can't be that hard, I'm smart. And then they get blown out. So the trick is, whatever you're doing, stay humble. Know that you could get messed up at any time. That's how you stay grounded, and that's how you continue to manage your risk in whatever you're doing, including the market. And I'm sure a lot of Tony's job is dealing with that in his clients because they're all at the top of the world. I mean, if Bill Clinton can be a president and be this smooth, what can't he do? I don't know how Tony deals with that. Last thing Tony said is that he helps PTJ adjust his strategy according to how the markets are playing out. So adjust the strategy to the environment. Now, I don't know how much Tony actually knows about markets. He did write this great finance book, but I'm sure it's more about breaking down PTJ's logic patterns and trying to see where he's actually being influenced by emotions. Because it's a tough thing to root out your own biases when making decisions. So it's great to have a coach like Tony do it for you. And in the psychology guide, we actually talk about that. And we talk about the importance of having a trade journal. Because when you start writing stuff down, you start separating yourself from your emotions and your biases. And then all of a sudden, you could kind of be your own coach, your own Wendy or Tony Robbins. And you don't got to pay $1 million for it either. So again, you could check out this guide. You just got to click the link down below in the description and comments. It's free. You can download it. Do that and get started on working on your psychology today so that you can make more money in the market. And make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Billions content. I'm happy to be going over these things with you guys again. It's going to be a fun season. I'll talk to you again soon. Stay fallible out there. Bye.